Chad Duplantis, restorative dentist, Fort Worth, Texas. Fossil Creek Dental Partners.
Gary White, general dentist in Fort Worth, Texas. And my practice is Gary L. White, DDS, Cosmetic and Restorative Dentistry.
Cassie Talon, CEO and fractional COO for the Fractional Match based in Dallas, Texas.
This side is situated, the guest for him.
Always a little big here, sorry.
Curve Dental, take one.
Well, I'm here today with Chad and Gary, who are incredible dentists that utilize Curve in their practices. And we're going to talk a little bit about how Curve is impacting their day-to-day routine and even how it could have been different when they started. So just the ups and downs of learning with Curve and growing together. So welcome. And I'd love to just kind of kick things off, if you don't mind, and start asking some questions and get to know a little bit more about your practices. What would be one workflow solution you've implemented inside of Curve that you feel like has been a really positive impact to your team or maybe even to just your day-to-day?
Curve Grow has been a huge component to our workflow. Having the front desk, and I just talked to her about this yesterday since she knew we were going to be talking. The first thing that we did was we implemented the text to pay, things like that, and for her, her workflow was even so much better once we came to Curve, because it was so much easier for her to do her job, which is, make appointments and collect money. In the clinical side of things, I created a whole bunch of shortcuts, making that the patient, when they come in for a treatment plan, we can make a treatment plan right behind the patient, right while I'm talking to the patient. And when they say, can I get a printout of this or whatever, we've already emailed it to you before they even leave the room. They said, what, are you serious? And if you want it printed out, it's printed out at the front desk by the time we walk them up there. So that's impressive to the patient. But it also decreases my work, because I used to have to go, I don't know how you did it, but I used to have to go sometimes and say, I'll get that done for you, hopefully this afternoon. Yeah. Then I'm at the office longer, and I have to do the treatment plan while I'm in my office.
Rarely do you see a Google review that says that the dentist was bad at dentistry. I rarely ever see that. Like, it was just the dentistry performed was poor, right? My filling wasn't accurate, right? What you do see is the efficiency of the clinic being mentioned in that Google review, which computes to your level of expertise chairside, which, we don't think about it that way, but their trust in what you deliver for treatment directly correlates to them getting that efficient email sent to them on time.
Yeah, and they love it because, let's face it, everybody hates to go into a doctor's office and you sit there in the waiting room, and then you go back to the little room and you sit there. And these people, we have professionals coming into us all the time. They've got schedules they need to keep. That's and the one thing that they love about our practice, Chad's too, is that they're in the chair on time and they're out of there on time with the information they need.
I love that, because just recently I was in a clinic where the doctor said earlier that morning he had a patient waiting almost 45 minutes for a treatment plan. And he said, I just wanted to do same-day dentistry. Like, I just wanted to get started. And I said, well, let's talk about how you fix your workflow so that you can get right in there and present a treatment plan. So for doctors listening that are out in the hallway pacing to do the same-day treatment while the treatment is created and put into the the system, this is the solution.
He hit the nail right on the head with text to pay.
Yeah.
That was amazing too, because when we had our previous practice management software, I always say, I talk a lot about technology, and it's very disjointed. And although it's still disjointed to an extent, Curve jointed a lot of it together. And so we used to use text to pay, but it would come in through this, and then we'd have to go put it in on this, and we'd have to do this, and it was a pain in the rear. But now it's just all right there. And when you have some pretty tech-savvy people at the front desk that quickly became such, it was just a huge, quick transition and made it really easy to what everybody wants to hear, collect.
Yeah.
collect.
I will just say, I think that text to pay is so under promoted in general, but it is the one turning point in collections for accessibility to the patient to pay wherever they are. And just a gold nugget from that would be when I first turned on Global and integrated it into Curve, we sent out messages with a very positive impact approach. So instead of sending a message that says you owe, we changed the messaging to say, great news, we now have a way for you to pay your bill right from your phone. And it was crazy because patients would come in and they would be so positive about the fact that we gave them a way to pay online, but all we did was tell them great news, right? Great news, we've made this accessible to you and you don't have to worry about paying it. You just shared a gold nugget that I think people need to hear, which was related to collections and even payments on the weekends. One of the best times to send out your text to pay is Saturday morning because people are not headed into the office, they're not dealing with kids going to school, and they're able to be home to where they can grab their credit card and process their payment. So just a gold nugget there that your collections keep working even when you're not working. So really a valuable piece of what Curve can offer. And we even went as far in many of the practices I've worked with to turn on where they actually get that before they leave the chair. So we let them know, hey, you're gonna be numb and have gauze in your mouth. We don't want you to be at the desk. We're gonna send you that link while you're still sitting in the chair. You can pay it and privately walk out. You don't even have to talk to anybody at the desk. So it amped up the entire team's ability to see where that collection balance was. And then we rewarded it at the end of the week to say, okay, what did we meet in terms of our collections? And let's talk about the creative ways we went after that. And many times, docs, you're looking at the end of the day and going, how did I do a crown on Susie? And she still had a balance of 125 from 3 months ago, and we let her walk out the door, sending them a message as they're coming in to say, we're excited to care for you today. You have an outstanding previous balance of this, plus today's visit. Now there is no concern over what that total was. It's all transparent, and price transparency is everything now. So anyways, I love that text to pay. I see such value in it. So, kudos to you all for embracing that and adding that in. Curve has done an incredible job of partnering with other vendors that integrate seamlessly and fix workflow aspects beyond just Curve, like, AI for x-rays and things of that nature. Could each of you just talk about what those other systems are you've implemented and how they've made an impact on your team?
Mango has been an integration within our practice that has been fantastic, saved us a lot of money right off the bat. I mean, amazing amount of money that it saved us right off the bat. So I highly recommend that one. But the one that I'm really, really passionate about is the Pearl integration. About the time that I started with Curve is about the time that I started utilizing Pearl. And although I love Curve's image viewing software, for me, it's amazing that I can just click on one button. It opens up a separate screen with all of my radiographs that I can compare, I can analyze, I can run through artificial intelligence, and that's through just one click of the Pearl button. And then I can go back to my Curve screen and I can toggle back and forth while I'm looking at those radiographs and then go back and look at the charting and the treatment plans rather than having to go from image to chart. So that's been a huge integration for me. I love that integration. I knew that I couldn't live without Pearl, and when they combined their minds together and made that integration happen, it's just been beautiful within our practice.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons, big reason that I chose Curve, is they do smart integrations. Is just there's a usefulness to it. The text to pay, which I got through Global Payments, was great. But when I integrated Mango, that was a game changer for us. Everything's recorded. Every single conversation is recorded. And I have had patients who say, so-and-so told me this. And it's recorded in the correspondence. So you can sit there and say, let's check the tapes. Yeah. And they said, there have been a few times where I said, no, I've got the recordings. And as soon as the patient hears you have the recordings, you just, they start backpedaling really quickly. And it's just for our safety, because we also want to know we want to know when the patient is trying to pull a fast one, but we also want to know if our staff, if they're doing the right thing, if they're saying the right things on the phone, how are they saying it? And then just the fact that it was documented. Yes, she did call you. She's called you 50 times trying to get payment or appointments or something like that. So, and then it's integration, how it pops up on the screen, who's calling, right away. You can pull up their chart. You can have them on the screen before you even pick up that phone. And they think that's pretty neat. I mean, that's really an efficient office when you already know who's calling and have all of their profile or chart or something pulled up on the screen.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I find with Mango, once it gets embedded, the team realizes how frequently they were running around the office to figure out who called the patient last. Because if ever you've gotten a call on your cell phone and they don't leave a message, or they do, you likely don't listen to the message and you just push callback, right? Because someone from your office called me. That's normally what I hear when I go into practices. Well, everybody starts to figure out who called, right? Like, was it you? Did you call? What was it about? Because it's recorded, nobody is searching for that information. And I absolutely love that about Curve. I also love the integration with Bola. Bola is a great tool that allows you to have access to perio charting and restorative charting just by auditory prompts to AI. And then it also allows you to treatment plan and record the clinical notes for the patient. And in real time, you can even print or email a copy of those notes. So if you go over their health history and then you share with them, these are the steps I would take for better oral health, you can, with the click of a button, send them that protocol of flossing, rinsing, all of those things. And now it's not just a verbal communication with them, but you've given them a secondary communication that's in their email to say, don't forget, remember what we talked about. So I love that Curve has taken the extra steps to integrate with the right tools. And Pearl is one of those by far that once doctors start using it, you can't live without it, because it really is the second set of eyes you need.
When I talk about technology, I always say that we can't have one-trick ponies within our offices. And here Gary and I are talking, I don't know if he does, but I sure don't. I didn't even know what Bola is, and I'm sitting here like I'm writing notes like, hey, Mark back there, what's up, brother? Help me out. I got to get Bola in the office. So, that's the thing, is that they're integrating and they're constantly innovating.
Yes.
And so that's what we need to look for.
Overall, when you implement solutions that ultimately fix the workflow or make it easier on the team, it elevates team satisfaction and patient satisfaction. What would be some of those things that you feel like are just a game changer?
Yeah, Curve has some really great ways to display the schedule. And so we've created a layout where it's just hygiene only. So we trying to find open hygiene spots for somebody that's just in town for a week or something like that. And so we used to use the search function and hit and select all the variables and criteria. But we learned that you can select or create a layout with just hygiene columns and then select this week or the week view. And all of a sudden, just all of your hygiene for the entire week is right in front of you. And you see these just white spots of where the open hygiene spots are. And I think Rhonda uses that all the time. I mean, she doesn't even use the search anymore. It's there if we need it, but to create that separate calendar that you can just scroll through week by week and you can just see really, really quickly at a glance.
That is a pro tip, because especially if you're bringing on someone new, a full schedule can be very overwhelming if you're looking at all operatories. I've been in practices where they have 27 operatories and now you're trying to find the recare. To have a tab that's just for me to find my hygiene recare or even scheduling comps in one spot is a great idea.
The Sidekick is huge. After we got used to making sure the correct patient's name is up there, and how you can do the drop downs, and you can find somebody's phone number or their insurance. Do they have insurance? I can stay on the chart in the operatory and then find all this information without having to switch the page.
Yeah, I think not going to those extra tabs and trying to hunt down information takes away from patient care. So what a great idea to be able to have that there, and really recognizing that the use of that sidekick is more than just their patient name. You can drop down and find out their next visits, their contact information. You can even find out when their children are due for their next visits. So it's really kind of this area of finding the gold nuggets without having to dig too much deeper.
When we went through these questions, I went straight to the office manager and the front office team and was like, hey, what are your favorite hidden gems? And so we've been talking about this for a few weeks, and one that came up was the correspondence page. And so Cassie tells me, well, most dentists don't know about that. Well, now I do, and I love it, because on the correspondence page, you can tell when a patient's been contacted via text, via phone, and it even tells you who contacted them. And so it's great. For instance, last week, a patient doesn't show up for their 2:00 appointment. And it's like, where is this person? This is a great patient. They're usually here. They shouldn't, not be here right now. What's going on? So my office manager goes right to the correspondence page. Unfortunately, after somebody had called the patient's like, I canceled that last week. Correspondence page. Yes, the patient had called and canceled the appointment, said they were having an emergency, would call back to reschedule, and here we are making a fool of ourselves. And it's like, oh, who took the call? Oh, so-and-so did. Come on. But now I kind of go to it because, this always happens with friends. I'm sure this has with you, but we were on a vacation with a friend and they're sitting there going, oh, text from Fossil Creek Dental. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to forget this appointment. Another text from Fossil Creek Dental. So I go back and I'm like, how many times were we texting people? I had to hear about this 6 times over the weekend, And so we look back, and of course, I think they were giving me more grief than the amount of texts that they were giving. And I'm like, dude, look, I got it right here. You got 3 texts, and one of them accidentally went to your wife. We removed that. It's all good now. So, the thing is it's a great tool to see, because patients, although they want the texts, they will sometimes complain that they get too many of them, but they don't miss their appointments,
Right.
So it's nice to really see how much you are engaging, or if you have engaged, or who engaged with the patient and how they engaged with them.
Yeah, I think that correspondence piece is so huge because doctors are often going, who moved my appointment?
Yes.
And before, you have no idea where that came from, right? It just, the crown and bridge that was on your schedule is suddenly gone. When you go to that correspondence page to be able to see the history, and even if there isn't a note, one thing I really love is establishing accountability with your team and weekly check-ins, to where if there's a missing notation and an appointment is just moved or dropped, especially ones of high value, and you can find the team member that did it, but it wasn't documented, holding them accountable to it and bringing them in once a week and saying, hey, listen, we saw a trend here this week where you moved a couple of appointments and you didn't document why. Let's talk about how we're going to improve for next week, and then even do a shout out in morning huddle, again, rewarding the change and positive impact, but noting it, making sure that it's there and available for everybody to know why it was changed.
Absolutely.
So I love that you're using that for workflow, because it means everyone on the team knows who moved the visit or why something changed, and you also can see how often that patient was contacted.
Great for accountability too.
Yeah. So one of the customization aspects of Curve is something called tags. You may know them as explosion codes in your old systems, but it has been such a game changer for so many dentists, because it's taking that visit that maybe previously had no CDT codes in it and making it have a production value and accuracy. I call it the checklist for the dentist. So it's not just that it's a schedule on the appointment, but when I click on it, I can see the checklist of what needs to be done, even diagnostic, for the doctor to be ready. Can you talk a little bit about those in terms of your workflow?
We use them all the time, mainly in hygiene. I have my hygienist schedule their own appointments. So they're in the room, they say, hey, what do you got 6 months from now? And so before they even go to the front desk, they already have an appointment. And so they find an appointment slot for them and click the tag, and it automatically enters all of those procedures that are going to be done, whether it's, and sometimes we have to delete or add based on what I asked. Sometimes I say, hey, can we take a PA of this next time? And they add something in. But for the most part, all the work is already done. Yeah. We have people that call in that say, that one tooth that he's been watching and it has a crack in it, I lost the whole outside of the tooth. And so without even having to do a treatment plan, because we've just been watching it, Rhonda can go in there and select the crown tag, just a basic crown tag, and it enters the crown and build up. And I think it puts the seat in there. Yeah. And then that just makes it easier for us, because even though we're not seating it that day, once it's in the scheduled tab on the treatment plan, we can just drag it to another visit. Yeah. So it's already in there. Back to when they call in for a limited eval, the other thing is that the codes are in there. I don't know if y'all do this, but Rhonda's really good about putting an appointment note right below it. And so I can read that note, I can see the codes, and then read the note and say, okay, I can walk right in the room, say, hey, you're having a toothache, or you broke the tooth.
Well, there's nothing more frustrating than looking at your schedule for the day and going, why is this patient coming in? It's just an empty spot on my schedule. I don't know what's happening. You're able to have accountability even there to know exactly what you're going to do for the day.
The tags make it a lot easier for them to do it. I mean, it's plug and play. And the golden nugget that I'm going to give is that, if there's procedures that you do in your office that there's no fee attached to it, plug those into them too. Right. Mm-hmm. Like wellness scans, oral cancer screenings, and everything like that. The more that they can see, and the more that they see $0 and 0 cents afterwards, it just provides so much more value to that appointment, and they can understand why it costs so much to get your teeth cleaned, or why it costs so much to get your teeth cleaned and x-rays and an exam.
I love that. And I think when they do see those zeros on the invoice, but they see the value of the visit was, 15 different things for a comprehensive exam, like oral cancer screening and, health, even putting in health history review. And, those types of things add value for the patient. Can you all talk about, what reports you rely on weekly or monthly that are the most valuable to you?
For me, it's the production report. I run my practice a little differently. I know a lot of dentists see the schedule and say, fill that spot. That's not me. I know a number I want to get to at the end of the month. And if we have made that number, then we start scheduling for the next month. And I never want to be so booked out in 2-week time period that I'm burnt out in 2 weeks, but then I don't have anything on the schedule for the next 2 weeks. And because then I feel that pressure of having to, find work to do. And I never want to do that. Just do the work that comes into the office. And so the production report allows us to see what has been produced in the month. Let's say it's the middle of the month, and what we've already done for that month. But the little checkbox that says shows scheduled production. And so now it's a combined report to where it shows what I've done already in the month, but what is on the books, every dollar that's on the books for the rest of the month. And we take that total number, and if it's, make it easy, if it's $100,000 and that's what we want to get to, and we're at 120, well, we go to the next month and start scheduling out. What that does is it allows me to take the pressure off of finding dentistry. But what it also does is it doesn't pack my schedule. So I've got a lot of space if somebody broke a tooth, or they just said, I've been waiting to get those veneers done forever. My kids went to college, I'm ready. And I've got time in the schedule to put that on there, and they think it's great.
I love what you said about burnout, because I think doctors get into this, grind of the day to day, and they can't step away to look at how quickly they're exhausting their energy. So even taking time on a weekend to pause and look at that production, slowing things down, putting on the brakes to say, okay, we've met the goal for next month. Yes, we want to go over it, but let's reserve time for those last minute patients. It gives everybody just a little bit of breathing room. And it's such a valuable missing piece right now, because doctors burn out very quickly.
And it allows you to roam around the office too, because if you're head down into teeth all day, you don't have much time to go see what these other staff members are doing.
I totally agree. We were talking about this before. Book out equals burnout. And, I'm the same way. I kind of here we are, end of the month. Yesterday, I'm like, no, just leave that open. I'll put that next month. I don't need to fill that. I want to sit in my office. I want to chill out. I want to work on paperwork. I want to do this. I want to do that. Work on lectures or something. It's nice to have that time to myself. So, schedule a goal, and then, if you're feeling it, then go for it, but don't push yourself. I love the period summary. That's like my favorite report. I also kind of sit in my office and just silently watch collections all day long. No, not all day long, but I do check it frequently. I love the collection reporting. My office manager is a very vivacious young lady. She loves the insurance report and the responsible party aging report. And it's a quest for her just to chase those aging numbers. And, it was, I'd love to say that it's annoying, but I absolutely love it on Monday morning when I come in and just say, hey, guess what our collections were last week? Guess what I did on the aging? Guess how much, of the AR I got? And, I'm sending out these letters this week, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And, you start really analyzing it. And I love that she's also said, look, this isn't even worth sending a statement for.
Right.
Just we'll get it next time that they're in. And so she's constantly monitoring those reports, and when people are coming up, hey, hate to tell you this, but you owe $7 from the last visit. You mind taking care of that today before we leave? Absolutely not. And so those are the reports that are most important in our office.
I love that, and I love that you said she's chasing the right things and saying when to let something go. A gold nugget is in that conversion. A lot of people hire outside collections agencies to run after money for your practice, and I think many times it's a waste of money and energy because you end up building this name in the community of being money hungry. It spreads like wildfire, and when you do that conversion, there is value in just going ahead and putting a note and inactivating that patient if it's from 3 years ago, and say if the patient wants to return, they're going to owe $27 versus them getting 9 collection calls and a slew of emails. And in that, then focusing on the AR they can get, right? It's, we're chasing after the thing that we may not ever be able to attain that's from 2-3 years ago versus looking at the AR right now and going after what's, ready for us.
I will say this, since we've gone to Curve, our AR is the best that it's ever been. And although people will say, well, it's not there. Well, it's there. It's just in a different place than it was before,
Right.
Yeah. But they're chasing it better than they ever have. And I love seeing the excitement in them when that number gets so low. And it takes a lot of stress off of me,
Well, I think one exciting thing in both of the reports you shared is working in tandem with things like dental exchange for processing of insurance payments, auto batching them, and then also insurance verification. Curve is relaunching that benefit advisor to where you can go in and actually pull benefits ahead of time. What we're seeing now is Curve is actually preventing you from submitting that claim with the wrong ID or the wrong information. And while it may be hard at first because you're like, why are these claims not able to process? You're fixing root cause. Like for instance, I had a practice where on the forms, they weren't making it mandatory for them to put in their birthday. So the birthday was wrong on the claim that was being submitted. Okay, great, let's go back, make the mandatory field in the claim of the patient's birthday. Now the claim is going through. So Curve has built out in a very smart technology way all of these safeguards to ensure clean claims and accuracy of what's being submitted to through dental exchange and other tools. So I love, hearing those reports. If you could think about kind of your AR just a step further, you mentioned your AR is the best it's ever been. What does that mean for your team? Do you have bonuses? Has it allowed you to grow in other ways in your practice because of that AR being efficient and effective?
Don't give them any ideas. Bonuses. They're doing their job. No, it takes the stress off them.
Yeah.
They like less stress.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can keep up with it so much better than we did in Practice Works. It's been huge. We never get behind in it. And the way that submits insurance within Curve now, you can do attachments, you can put in not only x-ray attachments, but if you have a letter or something like that, it's all within Curve, where we had to do it through, I forgot, Fast Attach or NEA or some, or maybe those are the two are the same.
Yeah.
But now we don't have any other subscriptions to anything. It's all in Curve, and then whenever a letter gets submitted back from the insurance company, it's right there in Curve. My office manager loves to, instead, chase the ARs, because she doesn't have to in my office. They're all taken care of. But she loves going into the claims and right-clicking and finding where what stage the process is in.
Yeah.
So it's an employee retention. I mean, we've created systems in Curve that have allowed for some employee retention because it's not as difficult as it used to be.
I've come up to the front desk many times, and I only have one person at the front desk. Rhonda she's checking something on her phone. I never get mad at her because everything is caught up.
Yeah.
And you let the staff have those moments she's checking texts from her dad, who's elderly, and just, you let them have this freedom because they're doing such a good job.
Yeah.
And Curve is, man, it's helped.
Can you just share a little bit about Curve Grow and how it has impacted your day-to-day?
There was a study that was done by AT&T several years ago talking about how patients want to receive communication. And if you look at it, they really want to receive text messages. Yeah. They don't want the phone call. And so, I love the ability to go into Curve Grow and be able to text a patient and receive a text back. And when we were talking about this aspect with our team, they were like, oh, make sure that you mention the images, because now we can receive images. And it's great from my perspective, hey, how are you doing after your appointment yesterday? Oh, I'm doing great, thanks. Or did you receive my email? Because sometimes I'll send over a treatment plan from myself and just want to make sure that they got it, or I'll send over a ClinCheck from Invisalign and make sure that they got it, and I'm able to just check on those through Curve Grow. I love the texting back and forth with patients. It's been huge for our practice, and it's something that we quite frankly can't live without. And once again, the images, somebody has trauma to a tooth, or they lost a crown, don't know how to tell us where it is. Of course, we want to know, did we do it? Did we do it? And send in a picture of it.
I totally agree. As soon as they implemented the ability to text a picture, that changed everything from I chipped my tooth to submitting an insurance card for the front desk. And the great thing is that sometimes I'm called on the weekend. We get calls. So everybody out there gets calls, and I can check also online with the mobile, because the texts are integrated into that, which is huge, because I'll get a call on Mango, they'll leave a message, I get texted that somebody left a message. I can check that message on my phone, and then I can go to Curve Grow on the mobile app, and I can text them right back and say, I got your message. Yeah. And sometimes you don't even need to have to call them back.
Right.
So it's absolutely essential to running a dental practice, and I don't understand. I'd love for any doctor out there to explain to me why you're not signed up with Grow.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that I really don't believe doctors fully understand or utilize right now is they think of patient communication as recare reminders or treatment plan reminders. What I just heard from both of you is it has allowed you the ability to do your post-op check, to call or to text the patient if there's something that you need them to know, or there's a follow-up referral or whatever that is, utilizing it all the way through that clinical experience so that it's not just automated messages, it's your direct line to the patient, and they get to hear from you.
The biggest thing is you got to remember to go back and check if they responded, because you're not necessarily going to get the notification.
Yeah, so, and one way to keep in touch with that is that mobile app, just to talk about the mobile app. And if you haven't downloaded it yet, it is not just a time saver from an efficient perspective, but I hear doctors say all the time, the fact that they can see their x-rays on a patient, especially if there's a watch and now they're calling in the weekend in pain. Can you talk about, the life-changing aspects of the mobile app? Because I think it's the best mobile app out there.
It changed so much just from a convenience factor of, it's Sunday night, what am I doing? I'm sitting there watching football or golf or something, and I don't want to go get my computer. It's over there.
Yeah.
You can just see how busy your day is going to be just right on your phone. Sometimes I made the wrong choice. I shouldn't have looked at it because now I'm stressed out. But that's right. But it's just the convenience factor of having it right there. You can make appointments, and I don't know. Have you used it to make appointments?
I don't. I'm not allowed to make appointments.
He's been banned from the appointment.
I'm not allowed to make appointments.
I've made one.
You know, we live in such a subscription-based society, you know, and before we had Curve, we had that Log Me In, and it was like $99 a year. And then all of a sudden it's like $99 a month, and then it's a couple $100 a month, and it was very clunky and it was horrible. And the only thing I ever used it for was to check the schedule. And you have to log in from your computer, you have to wait for the computer at the office to pick up. And now it's included in your Curve subscription, you know, which, yes, is a subscription, but it's just so multifunctional that now we have this app and it's so easy and it's right at our fingertips. It's almost too easy sometimes because there's certain places that we don't want to be bothered, but if we have to be, it's right there.
Yeah. I love the way that the Curve mobile app and Mango sync. So to
Yes.
your point, you can have that call that came in, know what the urgency was, look at the patient information, and immediately have a response. So another core aspect of Curve that I absolutely love, and there is such immense value for the doctors and their team, is just the readiness of support. The systems today that, you know, aren't cloud-based, or maybe they are, oftentimes have outside offshore support, which means you put in a ticket and it goes somewhere far out into the universe, and days later you get a response. Can we just talk about that readiness to support you with what you need? And even I'd love to hear, you know, downtime and then being back up and running over the course of having Curve. How well has it worked for you to be up, functioning, producing over the years you've had it?
In the days of past, it wasn't necessarily the offshore support. It was always like, oh, well, we have so-and-so, and they're a specialist, and they can come in and spend a day with your team, and it's $900 for a half a day or $1,800. It's like, I just need one question answered. That's
Correct,
it.
yeah.
And so with Curve, there's always a phone line. But the beauty of it is that I'm a big fan of telling my kids and my team, problem solve. Just figure it out. Just problem solve. And Curve has the easiest way to do that through Curve Community.
Yes.
You go to Curve Community. That's the first place they go before they pick up the phone. They go to Curve Community and see if it's a problem that's been submitted or there's a solution for it. 9 times out of 10, it's there. If it's not, you pick up the phone, you call, and I can say this, there's a couple of companies that I work with. Curve is one of them. They answer the phone, they're always very pleasant, they're always very eager to help, and you're back up and running and the problem's solved almost immediately.
The other awesome thing is the ticket system.
Yeah.
You can go into the little hamburger menu up there and submit a ticket, and you can submit a issue, a question, or a suggestion. And you know, sorry guys, I've submitted a lot of suggestions, but it's important to get those suggestions from all these doctors out here because, I mean, how many great ideas are we all missing? And if you don't have a way to put it into the system, tell Curve about it, then how are they going to make the program, the system work better for us on a daily basis? But if you have an issue, I submit a ticket and I don't know, it might be an hour, 30 minutes, and I've got a response. And that's the easiest way to do it. Just submit the ticket, go do dentistry, and come back and you can check it later.
I want to give Curve a lot of kudos. Okay, so first of all, I'll say that any technology you're going to have an issue with at some point in time, no matter what it is, there just needs to be a solution. There's always a solution with Curve. But the thing that I want to point out is that several months ago, we had this issue that fortunately we've all forgotten about with the insurance deal.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you know, it was, to me, it amazed me that it wasn't a Curve problem, it was an everybody problem.
Yeah.
And Curve was like, okay, we're going to try this until we get the other one fixed. And there was an immediate solution. There was kind of a patch. And honestly, I don't even know. I know it was resolved. I don't know if we ended up sticking with the patch or we went back to the original, but they were working on a solution. And then when you're dealing with something that's cloud-based or internet-based or whatever you want to call it, stuff's going to go down.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, God forbid your phones go out. That's going to happen. But there's a solution and there's a remedy, and it's always very quick. I mean, this week we had an issue, and he's calling me on the way to the office. I'm like, dude, it's already like wildfire on social media. By the time I get to the office, I'd like walk in and I'm like, hey, there might be a problem with the cloud this morning. Just chill out. And they're like, it's been working just fine for us, you know. And I mean, so it was fixed before the start of the day.
Yeah,
you know.
I texted him, and your solution was don't start so early.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think that Curve has done such an excellent job of listening to the needs of the practices, to the doctors, and building a system that's made for you versus you signing on with a system that they engineered and created that you have to adapt to. So it's very much so a learning environment where Curve is building and growing. And, you know, just thinking about from the standpoint of those tickets and being able to have a fast response, one thing that's launched just recently is the Curve AI search. And so now a team member doesn't even have to go to the Curve community in a separate tab. At the top left-hand side on that home screen, you can actually type in a question with Curve AI, and it will pull the exact community article and information to solve it. So it's seconds versus even having to pick up a phone. Would you say that from a standpoint of training new team members, you know, thinking about Curve beyond just that day-to-day function and workflow, you're bringing someone new into the equation. How has that been in terms of having, you know, a new team member learn Curve?
I haven't had to hire anyone new since we started with Curve. The plan is to go back to those videos.
Yeah.
Go to Curve Community, and they need to go through the videos because they were so thorough.
Yes.
Before we did our training that Joyce was at a loss sometimes for what's she even doing, you know, because the staff already knew what was going on. Now, again, shout out to Joyce. She trained us, gave us so many golden nuggets, but the videos are really thorough, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we had you know, unfortunately not by choice, but we had to hire a new office manager, and it was very easy for her to integrate, and it was mainly through the videos. And you know, prior to starting, kind of gave some homework, watched the videos, felt pretty in tune with it when they started. But we also had a contact at Curve that was like, "Hey, I'm here to help."
I think the good thing is the resources are there when you do need to bring someone on.
Absolutely.
I love that you haven't had turnover. That's a testament to great workflow and a great environment. But you know, having to hire someone, you think about the potential lost revenue and downtime, especially if they're the dental IQ person, right? They had the knowledge of your practice. And so one of the things I think about is last year I had a pediatric clinic with 4 front desk team members that made a decision to all leave at the same time. They were just ready for something different, and I was consulting for that doctor. All 4 left. They were on Curve, and we hired immediately. And in 2 days, all 4 of those front desk team members, coming from various backgrounds, not Curve, were able to learn the system and immediately start answering phones and scheduling again. Okay, so if you could, you know, wrap up Curve in one word, what would it be?
I don't think you can. I think it's just too robust to do that. It's innovative, it's intuitive, and I think it's just very necessary for your practice.
Yeah, I think one word would diminish the power of Curve. It does so much. It's so advanced, but yet easy to use. I mean, the user interface is so clean, but you start drilling down, it's just so powerful, innovative. Yeah, I think diminishing it to one word is, I can't even do it.
Here's another hot tip.
Just
When
kidding.
you're shopping online, you sign up for text with the office number, and then it doesn't hit your cell phone number, and then it's up to them to hit stop to unsubscribe. But you got your 10% or your 15% off right away, and it doesn't come to your cell phone.
That's pretty genius.